Hey, mamas, good morning, good morning. Okay, it's funny. I know like I'm like 2 minutes late, but I had to wait until the trash truck came by because it honks at Eric when it goes by because Eric's actually outside. This is a big thing. And usually trash days on Tuesdays, but because of the holiday, we had trash day a day late. So we're here. We got it. Okay. I know it's so funny. The things that excite us, right, during COVID, right? So today, I want to talk about creating a zero base life. And you might be going, why do I want a zero base? Like that doesn't sound good. Okay, well, let me explain. So in accounting, we have a concept called zero based budgeting. And zero based budgeting means that um, instead of taking last year's budget for the organization, which is what most businesses do, they take last year's budget and they roll it forward and then they add to it. Um, what zero based budgeting means is that you are going to take um, just a blank slate, and every year you have to justify all of your spending to create the budget. And so, Friday I talked about not taking your summer schedule and just adding fall onto it. And I think that this is something that we really need to look at in all areas of our life. And the fall is a really good time to do that. One of the things that I absolutely love about the fall is that you're starting over again, right? September is kind of a renewal, school starting, the weather's changing in a lot of areas of the country. And so this is a really good time to do this. And it's funny because I just asked my executive assistant, I said, listen, you know, go through Ingram Digital Media's spending. I want to know basically what all of our subscriptions are, what are all of our recurring costs, um, because I want to review them all like line by line and see like what are we spending our money on, and do I want to continue to spend money on those things. I do the same thing personal. Um, so one thing that we've gotten in the habit of doing in our house, and this is kind of like this is one of my money saving tips, but when I sign up for a service, like we just signed up again for Netflix because we wanted to watch Lucifer, which, oh my god, if you've never watched Lucifer, go watch Lucifer. It's a fantastic show. So good. Um we just watched the first half of season 5 and I went, this is as good as it's ever been. It's so good. So what we tend to do in our house is I will turn on a subscription service and then I will turn it right back off. Like I'll unsubscribe right away because you'll pay for the month and then you'll get the service for the month and then you don't forget to turn it off right before. So we subscribe to Netflix and then we turn it right back off. On a regular basis though, I go through like all of our subscriptions and I say, okay, do I want to keep this? Now here's the way that you want to look at this, okay? When you're creating, and this applies to money stuff, this applies to life stuff. But a lot of times what happens, there's another concept that's based out of accounting that's called the sunk cost bias. And what that means is that we value things that we've already bought or that we've already started to pay for more than things that we don't already own. And so a lot of times we will make time commitments, we will get involved in a project, and well, you know what, this really isn't serving me. I'm not excited about this anymore. But since I've already committed to it, I have to keep doing it. Um, and that's not the case. And so what I do in all aspects of my life, okay, so this is in our business, this is personal, this is time commitments, this is money commitments, is what I will ask myself is, if I had not already committed to this thing, would I commit to it again? Okay. I treat every single meeting, every single event, every single class, every single session as if I am buying all over again, or if I'm committing all over again. And so what I will do, let's say that I've actually done this before. Let's say that I'm on a board, or I'm on a committee, and the next meeting is coming up, and say, okay, if somebody from this organization came to me and said, hey, we're having this meeting in 2 weeks, we're going to ask, you're going to meet with us once a month for the next year. Is this something you'd like to do? And if I look it over and it's really not something that I would say, oh, yes, absolutely, and I would recommit to, then I resign. Okay. And typically what I'll do in that case is I will let them know, unfortunately, things in my schedule have changed. I really love working with this organization, but unfortunately, I just don't have the bandwidth to give it my full attention anymore. And I'd be happy to stay on until you're able to find a replacement for me. But I really need you, to be looking for a replacement. We have this terrible habit of taking on way too much stuff. And one of the first things that I have people do when they join bookkeeper training school is they go through, and they put together a time budget. And it's basically, it's all of the things that they need to get done during the week. And it is amazing how many women post that they don't have enough hours. There's just not enough time. And I think a lot of times that stems from us constantly adding more and more and more to our lives without saying, okay, if I'm going to do this, then what am I going to take away? We only have 168 hours in the week. And so you can't just keep piling on more stuff. Eventually you have to say, you know what? Something's got to give. Something's got to go. Right? And so I know, I've been talking to a bunch of my mom friends, and they're like dreading this season because, there's remote school, there's home school, there's online school. And it's overwhelming. A lot of kids aren't going to school 5 days a week. So kids are home at some point trying to learn. And mamas, I know you're tired. You're tired. So what I would be doing right now is I would, and I talked about this a little bit on Friday, but I would like clear the decks. Okay. I would start with a nice blank calendar. Okay. And you can get one, at, passionplanner.com. Okay. It'll let you print out like a weekly calendar. Okay. And I would just sit down and say, okay, what do I want to put in here? What are my non-negotiables? What are the things that are really, really important to me? And start there. The first thing, whenever I do this exercise, the first thing that I put on, and I am like struggling with this today, the first thing I put on is sleep. And the thing that I'm finding, so I kind of had this epiphany this morning. I don't have a lot of control over the time I wake up. Okay, because I pretty much get up when Eric gets up. This morning, Eric got up at 4 o'clock and would not go back to sleep. So I don't have a lot of control over what time I wake up, but I do have control over when I go to bed. And I know I'm going to bed way too late. So one of the things that I'm doing, and this is like a constant process. Like this is not like you set it once and it's done. So what I'm doing is I'm changing my bedtime. I'm going to roll it back a little bit further. Okay. And then I'm going to build the rest of my schedule around that. And then I also do this I also do this with our budget at home. Okay. So if I look at this is how much income we have. Okay. Don't think about it as like, okay, I have all these commitments and I have all these things I have to do. And, what I do is I start with our income. And this is a really good thing to do in Excel because Excel will do all the calculations for you, or you can do it in Google Sheet or Numbers, whatever you have on your computer. Um, and I set up like, okay, so this is my total income. And then I will set up a formula at the bottom to subtract out any expenses. And it tells me basically how much I have left. And then I just sit there and I say, okay, so first thing I have to pay for is my mortgage, right? And I take my mortgage out. And then I say, okay, then I have to pay my utilities. Then I have to pay, and we don't have any debt. So, um, which that is like the biggest relief in this, in the whole world is to, if you haven't gone on that journey yet. And I know, a lot of people say, well, interest rates are so low, like money is practically free. And yeah, until you have to make those payments and your income can't support those payments anymore. Um, it's really tempting, right now to go out and buy a car or go out and do this and, because interest rates are so low. But there's nothing more freeing than not having payments. I gotta tell you, it's awesome. So, but then I go through and I'm like, okay, so this is how much we have, this is how much money we have left. So, what do I want to do with it? Right? Well, some of it I want to save, and some of it I want to invest, and some of it I want to give to charity, and so I will sit there and I will look at my, you know, what is the next priority on the list? Okay, if I've done these things, then what is the next most important thing? And I just go down the list, do. Um, I don't start with, okay, I've made these commitments and so I have to pay for this stuff. Um, because that just kind of sets you in, if you say, oh, I've always spent this much on groceries, I've always spent this much on clothing, I've always spent, I've always been a member of this club, I've always been a member of this thing. Um, when you start to do that, you lose control over your own life. And that's not a cool place to be, especially with how stressful everything is right now. So, what I would be looking at is I'd be looking at just starting from scratch. Okay? Start with zero, start with nothing, and then build up what you want your schedule to look like, build up what you want your budget to look like. Um, that is creating a zero based life. I never go into things, saying, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. Um, I say, oh, I get to do this, I get to do that. Um, because when I know it seems like a little tiny shift, right? But it makes such a difference in going through your life on a daily basis. So, this morning, like I have office hours in the morning, on Wednesday mornings for my students. And so, I was like, oh, I have office hours. Because office hours, sometimes students show up, sometimes they don't show up. And so it can be boring. And I said, okay, you know what? This morning, I get to have office hours. And I might get to meet with some of my students. But if not, I'm going to get caught up with some stuff for school. And so I use Wednesday mornings as a time where I grade things. I make sure I've gone through all my communications with my students and the other faculty members. Um, I do some curriculum planning. Like I kind of use that time to do those things. And I had a couple students pop in today and, talk about different things. And it was great. It was awesome. And I feel much less stressed out now than I did before because I was like, oh, I have to do this. I say I get to do this, and it's pretty awesome. I know I scheduled our we're doing this new thing now in bookkeeper training school. We've been doing it, I think, for about 4 weeks. So I don't know if I can really call it a new thing, but we do these brainstorming sessions. And it's me with the members of bookkeeper training school. We're all on Zoom. We don't record them, so that way, like, people can, be honest and really ask questions. But it's a deeper dive with people. We usually have a pretty small group. I think, the most we've ever had is like maybe 15 or 16 people. Um, but they're super fun. And so, I realized this morning that I didn't have one on the schedule for this week. And I said, so Allie commented, she's like, I love them. Yeah, they're super fun. Um, and so I'm like, oh, I don't have one on the schedule for this week. So let me see. And I had to kind of move my schedule around a little bit. But it's like, oh, I have to do the brainstorming session. I'm like, oh, yeah, I get to do a brainstorming session. Because I love them. They're awesome. That's just how my brain works. Like, I love, like, okay, give me a problem. Okay, let's dissect it. Let's figure it out. Let's think of some things you can do. So super, super fun for me. But I think so often, right, we have this kind of like set list of stuff that we say, okay, I have to do all these things. And a lot of times when I work with people and we start dissecting, their schedules, you say, okay, no, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. You don't have to have, it was funny because before COVID, one of my big things is like, you do not have to have your kids in 25 activities a week. You don't. Because one of the big burnout issues with a lot of the moms I worked with was like, I'm constantly running around. I'm constantly in the car and I'm driving kids from this to that to the other thing. And it's like, I remember when I was a kid, you'd come home from school and you'd play with your friends, or you'd go to a friend's house and you'd hang out, or, we weren't, if you did an activity, I remember basically we could be in one activity per, you know, per semester. And so in school, I typically played sports. So I was either in basketball or softball. Um, I didn't play soccer. Um, and so like that's, those were my activities. And then if I wasn't in a sport at the time, then, I would, just hang out with my friends. And so I think it's kind of pushed down from the colleges, and the colleges need to change this. But, having to be in 9,000 activities so that when you get to college, you have all this stuff, on your application. Um, and sometimes it's just, the ability to be a kid, right? The ability to just be, um, is pretty cool. I love, yesterday I came downstairs and my mom was over watching Eric for a little bit. And he was just like playing on his Nugget, right? Which is like this little couch, this modular couch thing that we have. And he was playing on his Nugget and he's got, I can't remember what exactly he was playing with, but he was sitting there and he's like looking at the pieces and he's like, this is this and it works like this. And it was like, it was just awesome. Like he was just sitting there playing and my mother's like, I don't, he just plays by himself sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, not always, but he gets in these little grooves. And I think a lot of times we don't give ourselves or our children the margin to just be. And it's something that I really struggle with as well. Um, but I think it starts, to go back to where we started from, it starts with not cramming your schedule, not saying I have to do all these things and really you know, evaluating what's in your life, whether that's the stuff you have, whether that's the commitments that you make, whether it's how you spend your money, really sit down and say, if I didn't do this, okay, if I didn't own this, if I didn't have this obligation, would I do it again? And it really helps change the decisions that you make. Okay, so what I love to know is after you think about this for a little bit, come back to this post and tell me one thing that you are going to eliminate from your life. What is one thing that you're going to eliminate from your schedule, from your budget, from your closet, from your basement, from your garage, whatever it is? What is one thing that you're going to say, you know what? I wouldn't buy this again, or I wouldn't commit to this again, or I'm not doing this again. Okay? I'd love to know what that one thing is. All right, so leave that in the comments below. All right, mamas, thank you so much. I am going to go hug my husband and my son. I hope you guys have an awesome day. And I'll probably pop in here again on Friday around the same time. Okay, about 11 a.m. Eastern, just to say hello. Oh, and by the way, if you have not checked out this week's episode of the podcast, those of you with littles that are struggling with homeschooling and remote schooling, I have Aubrey Hargis from Child of the Redwoods talking about what a preschool schedule and what an early elementary schedule looks like for homeschooling. So it's a super cool episode. Hey, Kathy, good morning. Go check it out at smallbizmama.com or anywhere you listen to podcasts. All right, I will talk to you guys soon. Take care. Love you, mamas. Bye-bye.